Enterprise Training Webinars. I can't believe it's August already, my goodness. This month's topic is going to be on sales tips, tips for the sales team on how to utilize TempWorks to your benefit during the sales process. Welcome to everybody who has been in on a webinar previously. I'm happy to see you back. For those of you who are here for the first time, the way that this works is you can hear me, but I cannot hear you. So even if you yell at me, I'm not going to hear you, I'm not going to respond. So the way that you'll be able to ask a question is on the right-hand side of your screen in your GoToWebinar panel, you should have a questions section. You can throw any questions that you have into the questions area, and what I'll do is I will repeat that question for the rest of the audience, and then I'll go ahead and answer it. I do want to let you know that I do require that you keep the questions on topic. If you do have questions that are over and above what we're covering, they are related to but not quite what we're covering, feel free to reach out to me individually, and I'll be able to help you out. So the training webinar this morning lasted a little bit longer than I expected. I expect we'll probably go a good 30 minutes today, maybe a little bit longer. We got a bit sidetracked this morning. So again, the webinar this month is going to be on tips for the sales team. There was a question earlier about, are you going to be delivering the help document that goes along with this webinar? I used to be able to do that because we had a limited number of people who would attend the webinars. Now we've got hundreds of people who are attending the webinar. So instead of me sending out the help document will be in the training area of our website, on the TempWorks website. And if anybody is not familiar with that, it's at www.tempworks.com. Once that website opens up toward the top of the screen where it says About Us, if you'll hover your mouse over About Us, the third option down is going to be Customer Training. When you click on that, there's going to be a small section on the right-hand side called Support. Under Support is Browse Help Documents. And where this help document is going to be is it's going to be within the Enterprise 18 section. Even though it's going to be in the Enterprise 18 section, it does pertain to 17, 15, 16, even our earlier versions of TempWorks. You can still use that same help document and still use what we're going to be covering. But that's where it's going to be as soon as Alex gets it up on the website for me. So you can come there and grab that at any time. I also want to let you know that also in that same section, if you scroll to the bottom of the screen, this is where you can come to register for our upcoming webinars. By early next week, I'll have the one for September listed there. So feel free at any time. You don't have to wait for the email to come out. But without any further ado, I think probably everybody who's going to be here is on. So let's go ahead and get started. We do have some tools within TempWorks Enterprise that are going to help the sales team. And I think this is the part of our business when it comes to software that kind of gets left behind. We're worried about getting employees in the database and searching out their skills, and we've got customers in the database so that we can invoice them and we can pay and we can invoice. But the portion of our database that the people that we tend to forget are the salespeople. They need a tool as well to be able to manage their prospects, be able to manage their visits, the events that they go to, all of those types of things. And there are tools within TempWorks to help out in that area as well. So one of the things is after the sale. There is a widget that's going to show you, because even after the sale, you are tracking your customers, because in most cases, you're getting commission off of what you've sold. So I did want to point out, before we even jump in, the widget for the top 5 customers. This is kind of cool because you can see, are one of the top 5 customers your customers? finger on the pulse of what's going on after the sale. Now, before the sale, a couple of things that I want to point out here. In the customer record, now we term it customer. That's the term there. This does not have to be an active customer that we are sending people out to. This could be a prospect. This could be a target account. This could be a company that we're sourcing recruits out of. So think of that term very loosely. This is not just the customer area. This is the company area where we're housing companies. Within the company area, you can label your companies as active, prospect, target account, sourcing. You may even have your sales pipeline 10%, 30%, 40%, 50%. That's a drop-down. So that can be tailored to what you want in that drop-down. When I was in staffing and I was doing sales, which I loved in staffing, we used to have target accounts. We had X number of target accounts each quarter, and those were the ones that we were going to close. Over and above that, we could have as many prospects as we wanted, but we did have target accounts. So you can label the company however you want to. And then when you're ready to, okay, we've got everything we need, we're going to actively service them, we're going to transition them over, we can then change them to active. So that's one area that can be helpful to you. Another area is going to be sales and service. Now, it depends on your staffing company how you're going to be using these two fields. We have got the account manager and we have got the sales team. Sometimes those are two different people. Sometimes they're the same person. I was recently working with a group who their salesperson remained their account manager through the life of their account. Other companies, the salesperson sells it, they hand it off, and then someone within the office services the account. So your account manager drop-down is going to be everybody, all of the users of the software in your company. So all of your coworkers are going to be listed there. But you've also got the option to have a second person affiliated with this company in the form of a sales team. Now, the sales team is a drop-down that your administrator manages, and this could be everybody in the company, or it could be all of the salespeople, or it could be the salespeople and house account. Another company that I was working with, their salespeople get to earn commission for the first 2 years, and then that account rolls over into a house account, and they don't earn commission on it anymore. So just depending on how you want to use that. Another group that I'm working with has teams. They've got different regions, and they have a sales team who shares the commission. So your company dictates what goes into that drop-down. But this is where I can say, I sold this account. Another thing that's very important is your competition. Who's out there that you want to boot out the door? Who are you up against when bidding a contract? That competition you can track right there within the customer record. And we can search on this. You can display that in your search results. So that's another area that's going to be very, very important. Now, as I was thinking about doing this webinar, one of the things that I've always struggled with TempWorks as far as sales go is, where do I put the potential revenue? Where do I put our anticipated close date? Those are two very important things. So when my boss looks at my pipeline, we need to know what's going to close next week, what's going to close in 30 days, what's going to close in 60 days. Now, there are two ways to do this, depending on whatever is best for you and your coworkers. One of the areas is custom data. Each of our databases, you have the ability to have custom data fields in all of the areas. So within the customer area, we can have a custom data field for potential revenue, for anticipated close date, and those are searchable fields. The other place that you may want to be tracking those two items might be within the messages. So when you log a message, you can log a message and you pick an action code. Now, I have set up an action code in here, which is, what did I name it? Sales call close date, sales potential revenue, whatever you want to label that action code, and then you can put in what you think your close date is going to be, whatever you think your potential revenue is going to be. Again, these are searchable as well. So it just depends on which way do you want to use. Do you want to use the messages or do you want to use the custom data fields? So either way is going to work, just whatever is your preference. Now, something else that I want to talk a little bit about is, and we'll get back to being able to dig this data out in a little bit, but another area that's going to be terribly important in the sales process is tracking what you've done and then finding out what you need to do. So tracking what you've done, generally we're going to be doing this by logging a message. Now, when you go out and you speak with the owner of the company and you have that meet and greet, and you're going to log a message in TempWorks. And generally, it's going to be with a person that you spoke with. So let's say I've met Stanley Sanders. We went to a Chamber of Commerce event together, and I met him there, and he's really interested. He does use contingent workforce. What I can do is log a message on him and pick the proper action code. Now, your action codes, again, are going to be very, very important because they are what is going to define and categorize what kind of action did you take. Also, when it comes to reporting, the action code is going to be extremely important, and I'll show you why when we pull some reports. If I say SC event, I did a sales call, SC stands for sales call, and I say met at chamber event, wants a phone call later in the week. Now, I can follow up with that. The way that you indicate that you want to schedule a follow-up is you indicate create a task. Create a task opens up, and you can say what is the task going to be. Now, I recommend start with a person's name and then put in the company name and then put in what is the action going to be and then the details. And I'll show you why in just a second. So follow up to chamber event. I want to do this on whatever day, maybe tomorrow. If I'm not going to be in tomorrow, I can assign it to somebody else to do, but I'm going to be in tomorrow, so I'll keep it to myself. When I post this, that's going to log the note on Stanley's record, and what it's going to do is it's going to give us a follow-up task in the upper right-hand corner. Now, the reason that I wanted the task to start with the person's name, the company name, and then the action that has to be taken was because when I look at my task area, at a glance, I can go, oh, I need to make a phone call. I need to check for a payment. I need to make a phone call. I need to make a phone call. So that way, and I know it's to Barbara, it's to Red, it's to Stan, it's to Barbara. It's more information at your fingertips. So you log what you did. You put in when you want to follow up. Your task area is going to be top to bottom, left to right, the oldest to the newest. Now, what I just found out this morning is that with the upgrade, a bunch of you got upgraded over the course of the past couple of weeks. Only 10 are going to show up there. So if you have more than 10, what you'll need to do, and salespeople are going to have more than 10. You're going to have more than 10 in a day. What you can do is you can filter. That little funnel will open up a filter, and you can say, okay, filter it by date range. Only show me what's due today. Only show me what's due this week. You also can click on the arrow pointing to the right. That arrow is going to open up your task manager. Now, the task manager is awesome cool because what you can do is you can say, show me all my open tasks. Show me all my closed tasks. show me all of the tasks that belong to this person, to that person, to the next person. This allows you to look at your coworker stuff and say, hey, maybe they need help. Maybe they're falling behind. If you see red, it's overdue. That was due back in June, and I still haven't done it. It changes to red, so I can see immediately I've got an overdue task. If it's gray, it's coming up, and if you see it's green, it was completed. So here you can look at your task list. You can print this out. You can also view this in a list view as opposed to a detailed view. I actually kind of prefer the list view. The columns line up a little bit better in the list view than it does in the detailed view. But you can print that out, boom, take it with you, come back at the end of the day, plug in everything that you did, schedule your follow-up for when you need to follow up again. Now to complete a task, you just put a check mark in the proper checkbox. So if I complete Barbara's, I put a check there. It goes away from the top. It doesn't go away from the bottom. As soon as I refresh the screen and I go in and say, okay, show me all my closed tasks, then it will show up. Now, a couple of other things that I want to point out here. When you schedule a task, you can have a reminder. You do have to add it to the database first, so you log your message first, put in your task. You do have to open it up after the fact, but then you can say, you know what, I want a reminder today at 4:20 p.m. And you'll see as we're working through this, we're going to get a little pop-up that's going to say, well, you've got this task and it's due, and it's going to ding and everything. I should probably turn up my volume so you can hear the ding. Nope, volume's up. So you can schedule a follow-up simply by double-clicking, put in a reminder. You also have the ability, now salespeople probably aren't going to do this, but you can distribute your task out by adding to the task distribution to any branch and to any security role. So if you needed to distribute this out to, hey, pay clerks, run a credit check, you could put a task on their task manager. Now, other things that pertain to sales, we've got stuff in the database. We've got our prospect in there. We put in there the revenue that they're going to generate, et cetera, et cetera. To get the data out of the database, we're going to run a search. Now, if you've been in any of my trainings previously, first rule of searching is going to be clear criteria. Always clear criteria before you run a search. Now, we're going to click Enhance Search. Doesn't look like a button, but it is. Now, first of all, we need to find our prospects and target accounts. So under Sales and Service is going to be who is the account manager, who is the sales team. So depending on which one you decide to use, you'll search based on that. I want to see when I get my prospects back, who is my competition out there? I can say, show me my competition. We can also say in the profile area, what is their status? And this is where I can pick prospect, and I also want to see my target accounts. Now with me, there was a big distinction between the two. Might not be for you, but if you want to know which one they are, you can say, show in the search results which one they are. You can also say, I want to see, I want to see the revenue they're going to generate. Now this one, you're going to say, what field do you want to have? And then under Custom Data Value, you'll say Show in Search Results. So now, if I run this search, that's going to bring back every account that I have that is a prospect or a target account. It's going to show me the competition. It's going to show me the dollar value that they're worth right there. And I can email them. I can print this list right from there. So if you need a list, you can print it. It will print with the added columns that you've placed there. You can also, remember, if you're using the message action for your revenue or your close date, what you'll do there is you'll go into Profile and you'll say Message Action, and here's where you can say Sales Call Close Date, or whatever you label it as, and then you say Message Text Show in Results. And then when you run your search, because we saved those as messages, this is going to show you what is in the message text where you used that particular action code. This one I didn't put in there the proper data. So garbage in, garbage out. I put garbage in, I got garbage out. So the searching is very, very important. Also is the reporting. The reporting is going to be huge for you. Under All Options, Reports, or you might have that in your navigational tree. Just depends on what navigational tree you've selected. The three reports that I want to point out to you, number one is Contact Message. Contact Message Report. If you want to make it a favorite, you can click the plus and then it'll show up in the favorites. But your Contact Messages Report is really cool because you've got a lot of criteria by which you can run this particular report. Number one is by date range. So we can say by date, show me over the past week, show me over the past month, show me over the past 6 months what I've done. I'm just going to go back to June 1st. I'm going to go to the 3rd. Now I can say group by. I like to group by message action so I can see all my cold calls versus all of my closing calls versus all of my phone calls versus. Now we can say what rep do we want. You can select everybody, or you can go in and you can say, no, I just want mine. And you also have the ability to say, you know what, don't show me the collection calls that I've made, if indeed you have to do collections as well as sales, which is what I had to do when I was in staffing. So you can indicate which ones you do and do not want. And you can also filter by customer or filter by contact. And now when we view the report, this is going to pull all of the messages for that date range, the action codes that I asked for, the reps that I asked for, and it's going to pull that into a nice, neat little report for us. So I did 1 cold call, customer interviews, I did 10, I did an email. So all of this is right there at your fingertips. What have I done? It allows you to account for your time. So that's your contact messages. The other report that I want to talk about is message productivity. Message productivity, if we look at this one, is going to be, again, the date range. So I'm just going to go back to July 22nd through today. What reps? I'll say just me. Or you can do as many as you want if you're a man. Oops. Ding, there's our reminder. I'm going to snooze it for about 15 minutes, put it to sleep. So I'm just going to pick me just for this example. And pick by branch. You can also filter by customer name. So if you want to see a whole history of what you've done with a customer, you can key in the customer's name in that field, and it will reduce this report to only the messages that were logged on that particular customer. Now, this is going to be a little bit different because this is going to take all of the different message action codes and show you a total of how many of each you've done. And there we go. So here I've got 1 cold call, 1 customer interview, 9 emails, 1 interview. So this gives me the totals, and if I expand, that's going to expand each of those so I can see the detail of the messages. So that expands all of my emails that I sent out. And apparently I sent some resumes out to a supervisor. So that one is the message productivity report. And then the last report I want to talk about is the rep productivity. There's a little bit of confusion over this, and actually I was a bit confused over it as well until I dug into the reports manual and said, okay, I need to figure out what this report's all about. When you go back, and I'm just going to do July 22nd through August 2nd. Now this one you cannot filter out by rep name because it's going to be all reps. So this is more like a sales management report. All reps and how many of each category they've done. So this is going to be marketing calls, sales calls, quality calls, interviews, orders, new assignments, new employees. The ones that are going to pertain to the sales team, number one, orders that were created. How many orders have been created? Puts in your own orders. You'll be able to see how many orders you've added. With the marketing calls, let's see what Dee Wood has done. She hasn't done any marketing calls. Marketing calls are going to be any message that is logged using an action code that has the word market in it. So message action code has market. So it might be marketing piece number 1, marketing piece number 2, marketing phone call, marketing visit, as long as it has the word market in the code. Sales calls are going to be any message action code that has the word sales in it. Those that we saw that were SC event, they aren't going to count in here. SC lunch, they aren't going to count. It has to have the full word sales in it. So you may want to go back and rethink, what do we want our action codes to be when we log sales messages? Whoever is your administrator can control that. And then the quality calls, that would be any message action code that has the letters QC in it. So QC call, QC phone call, QC has to be in the action code. And that's what gets them to show up here. Understanding where those numbers are coming from is key to understanding what the heck is this report. So in the help document that I put together, it has that in this section. It's going to be on page 5, at the bottom of page 5. Now, the last two areas that I want to talk about, one is an ancillary product. It is over and above the core product. Your company may or may not subscribe to it. If you like what you see, you can go to your management team and say, hey, what is the likelihood that we could get this? And that is TW Mobile. The other one that I want to show is going to be Hot List. Hot List is a new feature in version 18. So if you've recently upgraded or if you are going to be upgrading soon, you will have this. So first of all, TW Mobile is on your smartphone. So whether it's a Droid, whether it's a BlackBerry, whether it's an iPhone, as long as you can get to a web browser on your phone, you have a link that you can go to that will allow you to look up your contacts, your customers, your employees. You can log messages. You can view your favorites. And you can see mini sales reports. It's not going to be great big huge sales reports on your little itty bitty screen on your phone. But where this happens is, let's say, and this used to happen to me all the time. I'd be out in the field, and this was before cell phones. I had a beeper at the time. I pull up to this company, and I draw a blank. I cannot for the life of me remember this person's name that I'm supposed to go see. And I don't have it written down. Now I've got to go find a phone booth, call the office. What is this person's name? And as soon as I start dialing, I remember their name. So here you can, on your cell phone, say, I want to look up all the contacts who work for Chrome Equipment. And this will list out all of the contacts who work for Chrome. And if I say, oh, yeah, it's Susan Billiard that I want to see, there's her phone. You can dial her phone just by hitting it on your phone. You can launch an outgoing email to her email address right from here. You can add a phone number, add her cell phone number. Here are the messages that have been logged. Now you're sitting in your car before you walk in. You go and visit with this person. You walk back out to your car. You sit down. You start it up, get the AC going or the heat going up if you're up north. You can add a message right from here. So here I can say, okay, this was a sales call. Remember, it has to have the word sales in it to show up in that report. But you pick your action code, key in whatever you have to say, indicate follow up next week, next month, say that that logs in real time a message on that person's record. So it's not something you're going to sit there and type in 15 paragraphs, but you can at least get it logged. And you can add interest codes to your contacts. So if they would be, if they say, hey, if you get an arc welder, let me know. You can come in and you can put arc welder in there. Also, with the customers, you can look up customers the same way that you can look up your contacts and about them. Here, if I pull billings by division, I can say, show me what we did last quarter. And that will show you what we did last quarter. What did we do last year? Boom, last year. So we had a lot of Unix programmers. So many reports. Again, nothing major about them. But you can see all that on your cell phone. Lastly, what I want to cover, and keep in mind, if you've got questions, throw them into the questions box, and I'll be able to see them there. But the last item is hot lists. Again, if you have recently upgraded, you have hot lists. This is in version 18, and to tell the version that you're in, you'll go to the E button, server, and your very first option is your version, that first number. I'm on version 18. So in here, for sales, what we have is you can have a hot list of customers. This is going to show you all of your saved searches as well as your hot list. So to create a hot list, you just click the plus button, you name it, you describe it. To add companies to your hot list, all you're going to do is you're going to search for them. And what you can do is you can either, in your search result, highlight the companies you want and say, add them to my hot list, or you can go into that company, into that prospect, go to the Actions menu at the top of the screen, and add them to your hot list. So that little looks like a bookmark, or it looks like a blue ribbon. Now here I can say add them to that list that's already over there, or you can add a whole new hot list on the fly right now. So now that you've got your hot list, you've got members on your hot list, what do you do with it? With that hot list, what you can do is, and this is ideal for salespeople, in my prospect list, I'm just going to double click on it to open it up. In here, there are my companies. Now I've got Midway Carpets. My primary contact is Cindy Wald. They're a prospect. This one's a target. That one's active. The phone number. Last message. If I'm doing sales, and these are my target accounts, and I've got a last message from May or April, I'm slacking. I need to get out there and talk with them. So that's a handy little field there. Revenue. What type of revenue do we think we're going to be generating by this prospect? Also, when you add a contact, you can pick from anyone who is a contact within that customer as your main contact for this hot list. So on your prospects, you might have the owner, supervisors, general manager, director of HR, but the owner is the one that is your main contact. You pick the owner here as your primary contact for this particular hot list. Will the system let you view only your accounts and not everyone else? Sales reps need to have access only to their prospects. Kathy, that is going to be dependent upon how you have your hierarchy set up. So what Kathy is saying is that in their company, sales reps should have access only to their prospects. It's going to depend on the hierarchy. Now remember, when you're logged in, if you're at branch level, you're only going to see the accounts that are in that branch. If you're an entity, you see all of the accounts within all entity. If you're at system, you see all accounts and all entities in all branches. The way that we've had other companies get around that is by having a branch for, excuse me, a branch for their salespeople. Each salesperson has their own branch, and we lock them into their branch, and then once they've sold that account, then we can transfer that account to the operations branch, if you will. So that's how we could get around that for you. As far as your prospect list, you can say, nope, I want to lock that down. It's only mine. And private means I'm the only one who can see the list. So they're the only I see Dallas's prospect hot list. Anybody else who logs in would be able to look up the customer records, but wouldn't be able to view my prospect list. And to unlock it, you simply click unlock. And to change it, all you do is click in here and you can change the name of it. Also, you've got your note field. This is the same note field that shows up on the VisiFile of the customer. If you're using this for sales, I would say use this for the close date field. This is when we expect to close. And remember, you've got the revenue field, so I can say they're going to generate $1 million in revenue. Hopefully that's $1 million. Yeah. Also, again, you can view this in a grid view, or you can view it in a list view. Kathy, that would go back to your hierarchy again. So if your manager should see all of those branches for all of those managers, then we would set them at the entity level and they'd be able to see all branches when they log in. Yeah, absolutely. With your prospect list, one of the things that you can do is you can email everybody on the list, or you can email individually. If you look at the grid, there's an email icon there. You can email them individually. You can see any documents that are affiliated with that company. You can see if there are any follow-up tasks, and you can complete them right from here. You've got that folder says, okay, let me see if they've placed an order, and that will list out all of the orders that that company has ever placed. Now, Chrome Equipment goes back to day one because they were actually one of my clients. So that shows all of the orders. Something else you can do is on the 3 bars, you can navigate to the customer. You can create a new order from here. You can remove them from the list. So, there's no potential out there. I can get rid of them completely. You can also, when you look at them in the search, you can also get rid of a hot list. So if you're no longer going to be working with that hot list, you can right-click and you can remove the list. Now keep in mind, that just deletes the list. You cannot go back and retrieve it. So make sure you want to delete the list before you go deleting the list, because that's going to, there's no going back and grabbing it again. One more thing that you can do, and I promise I'll let you go. I apologize that we've gone over time here. That pop-out that you can do with every other screen in TempWorks, you can pop out your list as well. So if you want to be working this list, you can pop it out, put it on your other monitor, and then go look up your customers. And you've still got that popped out. So you can use that hot list in many ways, but one way in particular is going to be for sales. So that covers everything that I had thought of for our webinar. Again, as soon as Alex gets that out on the website, the help document will be out there. Oh, thank you, Kathy. Kathy just gave me a great compliment. She said I've got a great personality and I'm easy to learn from. I'm a lot easier now that this is my second time around. Um, I do hope that you will be back for future webinars. This is Kathy's first time, so welcome. I'm so glad you were able to join. They happen the first Thursday of every month unless there is a holiday or unless I'm otherwise engaged. And because I enjoy doing these so much, if I have anything else scheduled instead of the first Thursday, I move it to the second Thursday. So I get to keep the webinars. So for September, it was going to have to be moved, but I found out that it is going to be on Thursday, the 5th of September. It will be 11 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Eastern. I did have a suggestion that somebody wanted to cover messages and tasks a little bit more in depth. So right now, that is my thought, that we would do messages and tasks and follow-up appointments with messages. There have been a few changes in there, so those of you who have been on for a while, that will help you get up to speed. So that's my thought for right now. And I appreciate everybody joining, and have a wonderful August. I hope it stays a little bit cool for you. Take care. Have a great August. Bye-bye.